Hello friends, welcome back to my channel jQuery for beginners. In last lecture, we discussed about how to write jQuery scripting language in HTML document. Now we are discussing about jQuery selectors. We all aware with this word selectors, and these selectors already used in CSS. We use selectors in CSS for applying the different CSS effects or adding the different CSS properties. Same, that selectors are used in jQuery for applying any events to the HTML tag or giving any effects, animations and CSS at runtime at any HTML tag. jQuery selectors are used to select and manipulate the HTML document. Selectors are the important for jQuery to access HTML elements from special purpose or animation purpose. Selectors are also start with $sign like $document.ready event. We start our jQueries with $sign. Same, whenever you start to write any jQuery syntax with selector, it is also start with $sign. After that $sign, we will use parenthesis. Inside that parenthesis, we use double quote sign, and inside that double quotes, we will write our selectors. For example, in this way, we will write selector dollar, then parenthesis, then double quote sign, and inside double quote selector name. Then dot is used to add any event, any effects, any CSS or animations. The selectors which we use with events or effects will be affected and will show you a runtime effect on your browser's window. Following is a structure to use a selector in jQuery scripting language. As we know, whenever you start your jQuery, first you have to mention a ready event. Inside that ready event, we will start to write our jQuery syntaxes, or we can create our jQuery event block, and inside that event block we will give any animations, effects or CSS to the HTML selectors. This way you write a selector with event and animation. Dollar, then inside that parenthesis make double quote sign and write selector, then dot. After dot you can apply event name, and after event make parenthesis. We will not close this parenthesis like ready event. So whenever you use any event same like ready event, we will not close round parenthesis. Inside that parenthesis we will use function keyword, and this function is for manage the event. So after that function we will close the function parenthesis, and after that we will start curly brackets and end curly bracket. After ending curly bracket we will end our event parenthesis, and end of that parenthesis we will write semicolon. So this is called my event block, and inside that event block I have used again selectors for animation, effects and CSS. This is the example for click event, and when user click on particular selector, it will give one effect on particular selector. Here P is my selector, means paragraph tag is selector. When user click on paragraph, it will call click event, and while click event is occur, the inside the click event block I have mentioned one div as a selector, and that div will be hide, and this hide is a effect. So I use selector with click event, and I use here div selector with hide effect. In this way we will write selectors. Here is the basic example of selectors. We can use following selectors in our jQuery: basic selectors, position selectors, attribute and value selectors, array or index of tag array selectors, this selector, keyword based selector or element type selector. These are the list of the selectors which we are used in our jQuery. We will show all the selectors example one by one. Now here I am going to explain you a basic selectors. There are the three basic selectors used in jQuery. First one is element or tag selector. This element or tag selector is not any other, it is a HTML element or tag, means you are using here HTML tag name. Class selector, here you are mentioning the class name as a selector, and ID selector, you will mention ID name as a selector. And these three selectors are the basic selector which already used in CSS also. These selectors are used frequently in jQuery scripting language. Now first element tag selectors. In tag selector or element selector, we have to use HTML tag as a selector. When use element selector as a selector, you need to define that element or tag name in jQuery with small letter. Means suppose I want to access div tag as a selector, then I need to write div name or tag name div as a selector. Please make sure never write HTML parenthesis at the time of selector. Means while you are using selector as a div tag, then you have to mention only div name, not define any less than sign or greater than sign as a markup tag sign inside the selector. This will be a wrong syntax for your jQuery, and it will show you a warning on your web page. Here I show you one example. Dollar, then inside that A is a selector. Here I use A as an anchor tag name selector, which will use with click event. When I click on anchor tag or a link tag, it will call click event. This event will call and hide. This is the effect, my paragraph, and this is my p tag. So I use here element selector with a tag and paragraph tag. This is used with event and this is used with hide effect. Class selector. We can also use class name as a selector. While you use class selector, it is compulsory to declare class name inside your HTML tag. If you are not using class name inside the HTML tag, then that HTML tag will not use as a selector. So whenever you use class selector, it is compulsory to define class name inside that HTML tag, or after that defining class name inside the HTML tag, that class will use in selector. Second thing, whenever you use selector as a class name, you have to mention one special symbol starting of that class name, and that is dot sign. Means whenever you use class name as a selector, you have to mention dot sign. Here is one example of that, or syntax of that class name declaration as a selector: dollar, then parenthesis, double quote sign, then dot, class name, then your event, then function which is handling your event. Inside that event block, I use same again class name. We can use different classes for event and effects or animation, or you can use same class name for same event and same effects or animation. So here also define class name. After that class name, define effect, animation, or any CSS. Third one is ID selector. We can also use ID name as a selector. Same like class name, you have to mention ID in your HTML tag. After mentioning that ID inside the HTML tag, you can use that HTML tag as a selector in jQuery. So make sure first of all define ID inside the HTML tag, and then whatever the ID you have mentioned in HTML tag, that HTML tag ID will use in selector. Again, for ID selector, we will use one special symbol, and that is hash sign. And before that ID name, we will use hash sign. So it is different than class selector and normal tag or element selector. Here one of the syntax is that dollar has ID name dot event. So here I define event, and here I define ID name as a selector. Inside that event block, I use again ID name, then their effects or animations. For that, I am going to define open one editor. File new. Inside that, you define HTML document. Now I am going to save this document in my target folder. Now save the file with appropriate name with .html extension. Now inside this HTML document, I want to start my jQuery scripting language. So before starting jQuery scripting language, we know that we have to add its JS supportive file. So I first of all add a JS file which support our jQuery. And then closing of scripting tag. Now I will start my script for jQuery. But before starting the jQuery script, I here define one tag name. Now here I am going to show you a coding of basic selector, and that is with element selector. So I am going to start my jQuery scripting language document.ready function. Inside that function you have seen here e. No need to define e. We can make blank with function uh, round brackets. Now we will use selector as a tag, and then I define here a click event for that selector. Again I make one event block. Inside that event block I will use one message, and also I give one effect. I am going to use again one selector, our image tag, to make hide. Now we will run this program on browser. See, here is my link, click me, and here is my image. While I click on this link, click me, it will first show me one message, alert message, which I have write, and after that it will hide my image jQuery. So here my click event is call, and after that event call I show this alert message, and when I press OK it will hide my jQuery image. So in this way we are using a basic selector. Again I make one more link, a reference equals to, then show me. Now my second link is here, show me. Now see, here I have made a tag select as a selector, and while I click on a tag it will give me an alert message and my image will hide. So I am clicking on this click me or show me, it will give same effect. Let's we check. First example we click on click me link. Now I am going to click show me, showing me an alert message and hiding my message. That means here we mention a tag, and this a tag is common for all anchor tags we are using in our HTML program. So whatever the link you create with anchor tag, this a tag effect is common for all anchor tags. But suppose I want to bifurcate or change this event, so I need one of the option. Either I use two different class, or I can use two different ID for different anchor tags. So now I am going to use class here. So first of all I define here class with name hide, and here I define class with name show. So here I have defined two different classes. Now I want to hide my image while I click on first anchor tag, and I want to show my image back while I click on second anchor tag. So for first I use class name hide, so I define here hide as a class name, and when I click on hide it will call click event, alert message and hide my image. Same I use again, second class is my show, then I use click event, inside that click event I again give one alert message, hide click event call, and I am show click event call, and I am going to define dollar image dot show with some string. So now we are going to define two different class, and both the class are different from each other, so it will give me a different effect or different event call. First one is click me, it will show me a alert message and hide my image. Now I'm click on show me, show click event is okay, and it is showing my image. So in this way we can make two different classes for individual anchor tag link. For same I can also define id for that. Suppose I am going to show you one example with id equals to, I am again I define here id as a hide underscore hide im. Second id is show im. Now I am going to define these two id as my event. Now no need to change in code, just I want to change my selector. Whatever the effect I am going to do with class, same effect it will perform with id. So I define here as hide image and hash so it will click event is called and hide my image. Same show event is called and show me the event. So same effect is performed by id also. In this way we can use basic selectors. Thank you friends. In next lecture we will discuss about a selector by position. Also we will discuss a selector which we have used as a basic selector with position selectors, so we can also understand both the selector can work same time. Like, share and subscribe my channel. Also press bell icon for new updates.